Jim, thank you so much for joining us. Just what's the mood in Tampa as USF gets ready to host Alabama?
I think there's some cautious optimism. This is a real retooling of this entire program this year, and it's going to take some time. But they are coming off a victory last week against Florida A&M, and it's exciting to have a team, obviously the caliber of Alabama, coming into your stadium to play you. So fans are excited about that, and they're curious to see if the South Florida team can take another small step forward this Saturday.
Yeah, 2 games in for South Florida, the loss to Western Kentucky, the win against FAMU last week. Just what have you learned so far about this Bulls team?
Well, it's a work in progress. Definitely, there's 50 new players, which even in these days of the transfer portal is a lot. Obviously, new coaching staff, new offensive and defensive philosophies. So we're seeing some of the inconsistencies that go along with that. But then again, every once in a while, they'll hit a little sequence of plays that, kind of shows you what this could be when they've got everything in place. So, again, it's just a case of trying to get a little bit better every week, trying to get some of the problems ironed out, trying to get the personnel set, which is no easy task, especially when Alabama's coming to town.
Well, as you mentioned, a new head coach in Alex Golesh. We just saw him in the SEC as the offensive coordinator at Tennessee. Is he trying to still run that same offense that he and Josh Heupel had there, a very fast-paced, really pass-heavy offense?
Yeah, he's putting in a lot of the same things. Of course, the personnel is vastly different, especially in these early days at South Florida for him. But a lot of the basic philosophies are there. Certainly, the pace and the speed of the offense mirrors what was done at Tennessee. The execution is not even close at this point as they again try to iron some things out. But you can see some of the things that have worked for him in the past starting to get incorporated here and starting to help this offense move a little bit.
Yeah, sticking with the offense for a moment, what is Byron Brown doing well at quarterback for the Bulls?
Well, he's the toughest kid you could ever find. He's a young guy, too. He's still only 18 years old. He started 2 games last year and obviously 2 games this year. So he's as tough as they come. He's mobile. He can run the football. He's a good decision maker, a good leader, has the respect of his teammates. I think he would be the first to tell you his accuracy in the first 2 games has not been where he would like it to be. South Florida has missed some pretty easy touchdown plays in the first 2 weeks, failing to execute pitch and catch. But for the most part, he's got a great leadership abilities, a lot of talent. He's only going to get better, but it's still a learning curve for him.
In terms of some of the other skill players on the USF offense, who should our fans keep in mind getting ready for this Saturday?
Well, I'd watch the running game. They ran for almost 400 yards against Western Kentucky. They really have a three-headed group there. Naquan Wright, the former Florida Gator, is probably going to get the start and probably get the bulk of the carries. But you'll also see Michael Dukes transfer from Clemson and a young guy they really like, Kwan Powell, as well. So those will be the three running backs. The wide receivers personnel there has really, really turned over. They like Naeem Simmons a lot. He had a 31-yard touchdown catch last week against Florida A&M. But the wide receiver group, in a lot of ways, is still sorting itself out. Kelly Joyner, who was primarily a running back in the past, is getting more time at slot these days. And another interesting guy at slot is Sean Atkins. He's a former walk-on guy that really came up from nowhere. He's now the leading receiver with 10 catches. Clutch guy, good hands. He'll return punts as well. And his is a good story because that's a guy that really came out of nowhere, wasn't expected to make the team. Then he wasn't expected to play. Now he's starting and he's one of their top receivers.
And how about on the defensive side of the ball? Who have been some of the leaders there so far?
They have rebuilt pretty much everywhere on the defensive side of the ball. They had a better pass rush last week against Florida A&M. They were disappointed not getting any sacks against Western Kentucky in week one. Defensive secondary is interesting. Braxton Clark, number 2, transfer from Nebraska, has played very well. Daquan Evans, who wears 0, is a big, big hitter for them. And maybe the most interesting guy is number 37, Logan Berryhill. He was a wide receiver, and they moved him over to defensive back. He's a big, long guy. He's 6'4", and he can go up and get the ball. He had 2 interceptions last Saturday against Florida A&M. His coverage has been good as well. So they're really hoping for improved play out of the defensive secondary, and those are the guys that have kind of led the way so far.
Well, of course, the Crimson Tide are excited to make a return to Raymond James Stadium, where they last played for a national championship against Clemson a few years ago down in Tampa. But also, there's a lot of excitement on the USF campus about what's to come in the future, facilities-wise. Just what can you share about kind of the direction the Bulls are going to go in the future?
Well, South Florida kind of feels their football future is really tightly tied to facilities. Last year, they opened a brand new practice facility, which is really crucial with all the lightning and the weather issues when you're outside trying to practice. So that's been a big advantage to them. And they also expect to have an on campus stadium in time for game one of 2026. They just got their funding plan approved last Friday. That was a major step on the way. And the vice president of athletics told us on the broadcast Saturday that they hope to have shovels in the dirt by this time next year. So, as great a place as Raymond James is, and obviously it's a first rate facility, Bulls have played there for 25 seasons, but the opportunity to be on campus, playing right next to all your other facilities, going to be really, really huge. It'll be about a 35,000 seat facility, and they are very hopeful for 2026.
Well, the future certainly is bright. We look forward to being down there coming up this weekend. Jim Louk, just thank you so much for a great scouting report on the USF Bulls. We look forward to seeing you Saturday. Thank you.
All right. Have a great trip.